We mentioned earlier, the first Marquette Law School poll of 2015 was released today.
It looked at public views of the state budget, the presidential contests, and the race for U.S. Senate. Charles Franklin is the director of the Marquette Law School Poll. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Good to be back.
Good to have you. Let's begin by talking about Governor Walker's approval rating.
It's a sharp drop. He's down to 41% approve, 56% disapprove. When we measured that in October, just before the election, it was 49% approve, 47% disapprove. So he's gone from a +2 to a -15 on that. And he should also be a little concerned about where some of the losses are. Republicans are down 8 points in approval. Independents who lean to the Republicans are down 12. Pure independents are down 14. Democrats didn't move very much, 3 and 4 points, actually going in other directions, opposite directions. So, you know, now by no means does it mean that the GOP base is abandoning him by any stretch of the imagination. His approval rating is still quite high. But the point is it came down those 8 and 12 points.
And as we mentioned, the biggest drop since you've conducted this poll.
It absolutely is. You know, for 3 years, it was like his approval rating really didn't change very much. It was sort of 49 ±2. Disapproval was 44 ± a couple. And we didn't see any major moves. So this one stands out as that exceptionally big move. And interestingly, it moves against Governor Walker, but it did not move against other Republicans like Ron Johnson, for example. His favorability ratings remain pretty close to where they were in September. So this is not a matter of Republicans changing views or being underrepresented in the poll. It's specifically Governor Walker's approval ratings that have shifted.
And there's some contentious things in the proposed budget that you also measured.
And you see, I think, the roots of this change in approval for him in those budget numbers. So 78%, astonishingly large number, oppose cuts to K-12 education, 127 million in cuts
78%.
there. 78, that's a giant number. 70% oppose the cuts to the UW system. But there are other things like making the DNR board only advisory, not really a budget issue, but 60% oppose that. And all three of these are the governor's proposals. In fact, you have to sort of search to find something where his position carries the day. One of those is in school accountability. Just let parents have the information and let them decide, rather than set up a state agency to deal with failing schools. So that's one of the exceptions, but a rare exception right now where his position has the majority.
You also mentioned Ron Johnson. You got some early impressions of a potential rematch between Ron Johnson and Russ Feingold for U.S. Senate.
All of these are, you know, early looks at the race, so we sort of know where things are starting out. These are far from predictions of where we'll end up in a year and a half or more. But in the Johnson-Feingold rematch, Feingold gets 54% to Johnson's 38%, a substantial margin. When you go and look at inside that, the favorability of each candidate, Senator Johnson is net favorable by about 3 percentage points, but has 39% who don't know enough about him to have an opinion.
After 5 years.
After 5 years of running plus 4 years in office. Senator Feingold, first of all, it's only 26% that don't have an opinion about him. So even after 4 years out of office, mostly spent out of state as well, he's still better known than Senator Johnson is. But Feingold also enjoys a much larger net favorable view. So put those together, lack of knowledge and relatively greater favorability, and you can certainly see why the race looks the way it does today. Now, there will be a lot done between now and then to affect
I was going to say,
that.
people might be home going, probably that's a year and a half away, but you need a base.
Exactly. You can't tell how the race has changed if we don't know where it started out. And so this is really sort of a picture of where do people line up at the starting line? You know, who's starting out a little ahead of the starting line, who's starting out a bit behind. But what happens at the finish depends entirely on how well they run the race. So this way we have a starting point, we can see how they do over the next year and a half.
Let the fun begin.
Absolutely.
Charles, thanks.
Thanks, Charles.
you.
Good to see you.
Interesting stuff.